Onwards and upwards with shirt making. This time we are adding tailoring for the curvy among us, and then looking at fun ways to dream of your own crazy variations. We'll start with boob darts and other basic shaping, so if you have no boobs and or you're here more for the frilly fun stuff, skip to the timestamp I'll put here during editing when I know what it is. So if you have much in the way of boobs, you will have found what I found when I followed my own instructions from video 1, which is that this whole area of the front piece doesn't work. These lines just don't want to meet up without the arm side looking like an almost straight line, which is bad. So you're going to need some more length on one of these two lines to let them join without stretching. You're going to need a dart. Darts are what you do when you want to make a flat piece of fabric slightly shaped. The curvier the shape, the bigger the dart. So to get an idea of how much dart you need, take a flat square of fabric and drape it over your curve like this. Wherever the flappy bit of excess ends up, flatten it into a fold and pin the triangle down. Mark the point and the edges with a marker and then open it up to see what angle your personal dart is. If yours is massive like mine, it might be an idea to split it into 2 darts. More on that later. Now you can add that triangle to your drafting process, and because it's going to get folded away in the sewing, you don't have to count it in the measurement, which helps you get the side seam and the arm side to meet nicely. The pointy bit of the dart wants to be positioned roughly at what we shall coyly call the bust point. You can measure on yourself down from the shoulder or neck point and in from one side or the other. To be honest, you'll probably have to move it slightly after the first fitting unless you get really lucky. Anyway, for our purposes now, there are 2 possibilities. It falls below the underarm point, put the dart here, interrupting the side seam, or it falls above the underarm point, put it here in the arm side. Either way, try to make its centerline perpendicular to the seam it meets to minimize the amount of skew that will happen to that line when it gets closed up. But there will be skew, especially if it's a great meaty big wedge of a dart. It will have messed up the edge it intersects by making a stupid little indented point, and also the excess that got folded away won't reach the edge to get sewn into the seam. So to fix that, tape a whole bunch of excess paper into the pattern at that point and then fold in your dart, smooth out the seam line as it passes the dart so that it'll finish up a sensible shape, and then cut along the new line. When you unfold, you will get an odd-looking lumpy bit that seems a bit unlikely, but it will be the shape that you need it to be, so accept it and ponder the mysteries of 3-dimensional geometry over a cup of tea. By the way, if you're working with a commercial pattern and you just need a bit more boob room, the protocol is this. Trace the front piece, cut it into 4 pieces with a horizontal line and a vertical line through the bust point, and then move them apart just a little bit, like this and like this, till you've got about the right amount of room here for your personal dart angle to fit nicely. Trace it anew, drawing in the new dart angle and smoothing out all the lines that should be straight. Do the whole folding the dart shut and cutting the paper edge thing to find out what shape the edge will turn out. However you came by this pattern, you'll be wanting to test your results along the way with a quick mock-up from a crappy old knackered bed sheet. Just cut out the body bits, stitch it roughly, throw it on, and see where you're at to inform the next iteration if necessary. And while you're wearing this mock-up, have someone pin in any other shaping darts you may want in the front or back. You can do this yourself, but it's easier and more accurate if you stand naturally while someone else pins them in by folding away the excess and pinning along the intended stitching lines. Once you're satisfied that they're right, you can transfer them in markings onto the pattern for the future. Feel free to shape the side seams as if you were adding darts here, but it really makes more sense to just, cut the side seams curved in the first place. And don't limit yourself to vertical darts. If you're sway backed like me, you may need a horizontal dart in the back to take up some of the height. Once I learned that I needed that, I retrofitted it into all my charity shop garments, and it just made the world of difference. Between my sway back and my sizable ass, I actually do both horizontal and vertical darts in many of my shirts. And between all my darts and their after effects, my pattern truly is nothing like the generic pattern block I gave you to download. It's amazing how wacky a pattern can need to be just to achieve a straight and neutral drape on a curvy body. Everybody's shaped differently. Find the crazy constellation of darts that your body needs and start wearing clothes that fit. Depending on how curvy you are, all this dart wrangling may have taken significant time and effort, but once you've done it and turned out a basic, good, neutral fitting pattern, what you have is a block. A block is a basic version of a pattern that you know fits well, which you can then use as the basis for all kinds of fun variations without having to do this whole from-scratch fitting rigmarole every time. So take what you've got, draft up a version of it with no seam allowance, so it's easy to stick bits together and cut them apart without having to account for all that. You can add the seam allowance back in after you've done all the Frankensteining to each iteration. Draft this durable version on reasonably hefty paper. A roll of the cheapest lining paper from your local wallpaper merchant is good. You can iron it flat and trace your pattern without the seam allowance, and then store this block flat if you can and keep it in good condition for tracing over and over again. Now you've got a set of templates as a foundation for some fun pattern butchery and all the fun variations you're about to embark on. So that boob dart you made, sorry, yeah, I'm back on boob darts again, but this is true of all darts, so stick with me. You can have it wherever you first put it, but you can also move it around if you want to. And the protocol for that is to take a tracing of your block, fold and tape the dart shut, and then just cut in from whichever angle you fancy the new dart at. Flatten out the pattern and tape in some paper in the gap with excess to accommodate the weird end effects. Fold it however you're intending to fold it for sewing and cut away the excess. Some very odd shapes can occur, but the folded paper doesn't lie. Transfer all your markings carefully, add seam allowance, and this should work. Like I said earlier, if your dart is a generous one, feel free to split it into multiple darts if you like, and then maybe move the pointy bits away from the bust point just a little bit to make the whole affair less pointy. If you have a dart in the arm's eye and a vertical dart below the bust point, which is a useful combination if you've got a decent rack, you might want to just join them up and separate the two front pieces, making what's sometimes called a princess seam, which can end up hanging smoother than multiple darts. Or swivel them both round to here and separate for a bib inset piece. Both of those things will achieve all the shaping with no darts at all, and is also a good way to make a shirt out of more than one fabric in case you, like me, have a stash of nice fabrics but not quite enough of each one to make a whole shirt. And you can do this cutting apart thing with any darts, by the way, wherever they are on a garment, or no darts at all. You can just cut a piece willy-nilly along any line you please and then add seam allowance and reconstruct it from different fabrics. Or the same fabric if you want, just to put a seam in to make it look complicated. That's definitely a thing in clothing design. Conversely, you can join two pieces together if you want, which we've done already in video 1 for moving things like the shoulder seam. You just tape the two pieces together and then cut the new line somewhere else and bingo, seam moved. And maybe you don't want to cut a new seam, like maybe you want to join the two fronts together and make a pullover shirt with a keyhole neck. You could make a placket for the neck opening. Go watch my other video about plackets. Darts don't actually have to stay darts, by the way. You can just lose the requisite width in pleats or gathers or whatever. So instead of boob darts, you could make some pleats that go up into the shoulder yoke that take up the same amount of width where the dart would be if it was there. Or gathered into the button band. You can draw it as a dart on your pattern to know how much width you need to remove, but then just remove it any old how. Pleats or gathers are also a way to add a bit of extra volume wherever you want it, either for style or wearing ease. Edwardian style blouses are often widened and then gathered or pin tucked along here just as a style thing. And a lot of modern shirts have that box pleat in the back for extra room. Just widen the piece in question and then gather it or pleat it back down to fit whatever it's getting sewn to. The point is, having figured out the basic shapes of this block, you can skip the whole fitting process thereafter and go straight to the fun design ideas. There will, of course, be little details that you have to figure out for yourself. Just put your mind to it and come up with a solution. People get really het up about whether it's right, but you know what? If it works to your satisfaction, it's right. Once you get used to this process and the freedom to move seams around and add and subtract volume from this piece or that piece with pleats and gathers, you can really make this basic pattern do anything you can think up, and it should still fit. And if you're like me, some of the most wonderful and exciting things you'll think up will probably be to do with sleeves. To make big billowy poet sleeves, you can just add a bunch of extra width and then take it away again with gathers at the shoulder and cuff. Sometimes I like to do this with long pin tucks at the shoulder, since I don't actually need any more volume in that area, thanks. If you add height to the sleeve cap as well as the width, then you get more poofiness. If you add a bit of height without adding any width, you can get that fierce, sharp, square, or even pointy shoulder line. If you widen out the top without widening out the bottom, you'll get a leg-of-mutton sleeve, or if you widen out the bottom without widening out the top, you get bell sleeves, which you could leave swinging or gather into a cuff for that pear-shaped 70s vibe. You can cut your sleeve block horizontally and make the top big and poofy and the bottom fitted, or the other way around. You can cut your sleeve block vertically and add in all sorts of interesting stuff, from fancy contrasting fabric inset panels to open work bead embroidery, which has the added bonus of letting in a breeze on a hot day. In video 1, I had you draft the sleeve as a half piece and cut it on the fold, or double it for a full piece that's still symmetrical, but on a real-life 3D body, if you're adding shoulder detail, you'll probably get a better result if you figure out where the shoulder point actually falls, and it probably won't be exactly halfway between the underarm points. So it might be worth skewing the shape a bit to make the shoulder fall where it should. On me, that's pretty pronounced, and before I thought to do that, I ended up with shoulder decoration that's pretty far off true, so my sleeve block now looks more like this. Your mileage may vary, just bear in mind it's a thing and you can fix it if it's wrong. If you're messing with your sleeves, you probably want to mess with your cuffs as well. You can make them really cute and narrow or really buff and wide, though if you make them really wide, you probably also want to shape them. Experiment to find a good fit. You can double the cuff piece and fold the finished cuff back to make that sophisticated turned back French cuff affair if you're after that posh twat look. We talked a bit about collar shaping in the drafting video, so go nuts experimenting with that. Or if you're leaving out the collar and just using the collar band, you can stick a little frill on it if you're feeling feminine. I do that sometimes with the cuffs as well. Also, if you're just using the collar band, you can straighten it, widen it, and shape it at the front for cravat-ready Mr. Darcy vibes. The straighter you cut the collar, the more it will stand up and potentially fold over if that's what you're after. Play around with all the dimensions and curvature to get the best fit. It's kind of a trial and error game, so stock up on crappy throwaway fabric and try different things. As you practice, you'll get better at spotting what needs to change and by how much for the perfect fit. So yeah, that's the broad strokes overview of the world of crazy custom shirts. You can add things like faux piping and little frilly ruffles or whatever. You can add super fancy buttons and lots of them. Deconstruct stuff and put it back together again. Go nuts. Think stuff up. Go raid Pinterest for ideas. Get a good ad blocker first. If you're new to this, a lot of this may seem unachievable, but that's only because you haven't spent a year or two dicking about with this in your spare time. So get started. No amount of theory will mean as much as putting in the hours in your craft room making a mess. And once you have a block to trace and adapt, yours can be an endless parade of wonderful shirts, no two the same. Or the same shirt over and over again in different fabrics, whatever makes you happy.